The Life and Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, a Lifetime documentary series, ended with an overview of O.J. Nicole Brown Simpson's legacy, her life after the trial, and the notorious murder trial of Simpson. The four-part documentary series, which debuted on Sunday, June 2, featured interviews with important witnesses, passages from Nicole's journal, and court records that explained O.J.'s fate in its final two segments, and his children following the unrest. Though he became well known throughout his NFL career, O.J. was best renowned for his turbulent marriage to Nicole. After Nicole and her friend Ronald Goldman were discovered fatally stabbed outside of Nicole's Los Angeles home in 1994, O.J., who was married to Nicole from 1985 to 1992, was charged with murder. O.J. was sentenced to pay $33.5 million to the families of the victims after being found liable for the wrongful death of and battery against Goldman in a civil complaint brought by Goldman's family, even though he had been cleared during a well-publicized trial. After moving to Florida with his and Nicole's children, Sydney, who is now 38, and Justin, who is 35, the athlete's legal troubles persisted. O.J. was convicted in 2007 in Las Vegas of kidnapping and armed robbery. Before being allowed to leave jail early in July 2017, he was imprisoned in Nevada for 9 years. Following an undisclosed struggle with cancer, O.J.'s relatives declared his passing in April 2024 at the age of 76. The Life and Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson provided her family with a forum to explore Nicole's life before to her passing and to push for increased public awareness of domestic abuse. For a summary of the findings from parts 3 and 4 of The Life and Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, scroll down. Nicole's friend Faye Resnick opened the third episode by reminiscing about how the two first connected, adding, "I actually introduced her to Ron, which is why I have a lot of other pains. We used to frequent Starbucks on a daily basis. They became pals after I once introduced them to one another." Although they didn't participate in the documentary series, the Goldman family did issue a statement following O.J.'s passing earlier this year. Ron's father, Fred Goldman, told Us Weekly in April, "The only thing I have to say is that today is a further reminder of how long Ron has been gone and how long we have missed him. Today, the victims are the only thing that really matter." Following the demise of Nicole and Ron in 1994, O.J. was seen right away as someone of curiosity. Detective Tom Lang had remembered the details that caught his attention when he first began investigating the homicide case. Lang recalled, "O.J. was not arrested at first. When I initially saw Simpson, I don't think he even recognized that he was bleeding from a finger on his left hand. Afterwards, a number of things caught our attention. When we inquire about his wounded finger, he talks in an erratic manner." The documentary contains audio clips with O.J. asserting that on the night that Nicole was killed, while he was in Chicago, he suffered a hand injury. Though he couldn't recall much beyond the fact that it had been cut previously and that he had lately reopened the wounds, he believed he had broken a glass in the restroom. "The foundation of what we will be doing is blood. This evidence revolves around it," said Lang. "He is now a suspect if his blood was found at the crime scene, if there is blood on those gloves, and if there is blood in his car, all of which appear to be true." When the Brown family buried Nicole, O.J.'s actions remained conspicuous. Robin Greer, a friend of Nicole's, talked about his feelings during the funeral. She clarified, "He just stood over the coffin, looking at her, and saying he was sorry. 'I am so sorry, girl,' he began, sitting next to me, simply acknowledging that he had done it and expressing his regret. He was, I'm sure of it." Dominique Brown, Nicole's sister, narrated how O.J. requested her to join him on his knees in front of Nicole's open coffin. Nicole's mother, Judith Ann Brown, was contacted by him later that day as well, according to Dan Pursley, a family friend. He and Nicole's mother got into the car. At one time Dita turned to face him and asked, "Did you do this?" Pursley remembered, and he leaned forward, looked down, and said, "I loved her too much." He kept saying he loved her too much, but he didn't tell her he did it. Robert Shapiro, O.J.'s lawyer, addressed Nicole Brown's sister Denise Brown, making the already terrible day much worse. "This is the fucked up part. Suddenly, I was outside, and Shapiro approached me. Shapiro asks if the body can be exhumed. What does that mean? I asked, she remarked, becoming tearful. F.K., she's not even buried yet, I exclaimed. You haven't even buried her, how can you wish to exhume her? I was shocked he would ask me such a thing, considering she had recently passed away. After Nicole's body was transferred to a cemetery, O.J. reportedly, he paid a solo visit later. The Browns received a call regarding O.J. was heard screaming at Nicole's grave by cemetery staff. Dominique thought it odd that her father, Louis Hezekiel Brown, and O.J.'s friend, Al Cowlings, had forbidden her from talking about the murder when she was grieving in the days following Nicole's passing. I was chastised by my father and AC, who told me not to tell anyone that O.J. done it since we are unsure. I responded, I didn't, no. I was scolded, I found it to be rather strange, she said. I am aware of its origin. I am exactly aware of its source. It just descended the hierarchical structure. Thus, nobody would criticize O.J. in public. Personally, a family friend, too, had an incident with Cowlings that left her shaken. She said, at the funeral, we walked right up to AC and asked, what do you think? Was it him? He said, I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. Personally went on, don't you think he would say, nah, really? That was not his statement to us. Later on, we discovered that he had denied saying that. 5 days following the killings, investigators suggested that O.J. be accused of 2 first-degree murder charges. As a result, an arrest warrant was issued. Instead of turning himself in, O.J. chose to engage in a slow-moving Bronco pursuit around the city and the surrounding roads in Los Angeles, until he eventually turned himself in to the police. According to the Browns, O.J. called Nicole's mother, which caused Pursley and Nicole's sister Tanya Brown to report O.J.'s alleged escape plans to the police. Even nevertheless, Denise and Dominique got into their car and tried to apprehend O.J. before going back to your house. Detective Lang provided details about his conversation with O.J. in the middle of the pursuit. We go to discussing his children and whatever else I can think of. Lang remarked, he didn't seem overly concerned about his kids, when audio from the exchange was played and O.J. mentioned that he had said goodbye to his children already. Lang enumerated the goods discovered in the Bronco after O.J. was caught, stating, we later discover the gun is there and there is a travel bag. It had keys, his Hall of Fame ring, a passport, and a disguise kit. These could be the keys Nicole claimed Simpson had taken, in my opinion. Those keys and a few other items were never presented as proof. Nicole misplaced her keys not long before she passed away, and the police were able to determine that they matched. In video taken during his civil trial deposition in 1996, O.J. denied owning Nicole's house keys. A footage from the 1994 press conference, in which O.J.'s lawyer Robert Kardashian read a note the athlete left behind prior to his notorious car chase, was shown on the life and murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. In the correspondence, O.J. let everyone understand that I had nothing to do with Nicole's murder, the speaker said. Shapiro claimed that O.J.'s psychiatrists at the time concurred with the interpretation that the letter was a suicide note. Shapiro implored O.J. to turn themselves in during the live press conference. During the interviews, a number of witnesses provided explanations for why they were ultimately denied the opportunity to testify during the trial. It was Jill Shively who brought O.J. to attention for almost running Nicole over at a crosswalk close to his ex-wife's home on the night of her murder while intoxicated. After Nicole's murder made national news, Shively followed up with the police she had contacted about the event. Shively did, however, hear O.J., which led to the eventual release of her name. Possessed contacts. Later, when she lost her job and had no income, she suffered from the public attention. Shively made the decision to have a paid interview regarding what she witnessed, but lead prosecutor Marcia Clark was unable to include her in the trial due to the fact that the payment is regarded as a conflict of interest. O.J.'s chauffeur, Alan Park, was also interviewed for the documentary. The night Nicole died, she went to the airport. He remembered not realizing he was being videotaped when he provided his version of events to O.J.'s lawyers. She played the recording to Park when Clark was able to get a copy. We hang up the phone at the very end of the tape. However, they do not stop the tape from recording. That's funny, that's not what O.J., they remark, is clarifying. When you step out of the shower, do you usually feel sweaty? Park mentioned how O.J.'s attorneys contested their client's testimony. Nicole had a diary detailing the torture and pictures of her wounds, which the police found in a safe deposit box before the trial. Nicole remembered seeing a clip from a 1978 event when she thought back to O.J. striking her once they were inside their wine cellar and then keeping her there. O.J. also allegedly assaulted Nicole during their sexual encounter and beat her so severely prior to the birth of their second kid that they were forced to fabricate information when she underwent an X-ray. Police revealed to O.J. the pictures of Nicole's abuse, to which he instantly replied, "That was New Year's Eve." Nicole had previously called the police over the holiday in 1989 after a fight with O.J. got out of hand. He entered a plea of not guilty to charges of spousal battery. Shapiro informed O.J. to keep quiet, the detectives who were questioned said. All of O.J.'s relatives, friends, and even the government felt convinced about him in the document. Had a hand in Nicole's death. The only person who refrained from speaking to her directly was her sister Dominique. There are children involved, and their mother is not present. I am aware that there was involvement and that someone is at fault, she said. I was unsure about the degree. I didn't. I'm still not sure. Kris Jenner and Resnick related their most recent talks with Nicole in different interviews. I had a relapse 2 days prior to Nicole's death. She enrolled me in a program. I was incredibly stressed out, Resnick said. She wanted the best for me and loved me. When Jenner's ex-husband Kardashian joined O.J.'s defense team, Resnick claimed it was challenging. I didn't know how to handle any situation. As soon as we discovered Robert was collaborating with O.J. Simpson, and they were fabricating a tale in which they said that drug traffickers had come to kill me but mistook me for Nicole. Similar to what, she went on. Due to O.J. knew Nicole had driven me to the clinic. She said she was taking me with her. He was also observing the children. It was the ideal justification for him. After receiving treatment, Resnick developed credibility issues, which prevented her from testifying during the trial. Despite this, Resnick authored a book about Nicole after her death. Resnick observed, she always thought he was going to hurt her. She was aware of it always. Jenner, meanwhile, refrained from talking about Nicole's trial, despite having previously expressed how it caused division in her family. The reality star wed Kardashian from 1978 to 1991. The couple had 4 children together: Rob Kardashian, who passed away in 2003 from esophageal cancer, Kourtney Kardashian, Kim Kardashian, and Khloe Kardashian. Conversely, Jenner made the decision to make public her last exchange with Nicole. Nicole made a schedule for us, saying, "We are going to go visit Faye and make sure somebody is there for her every day." Nicole said, "Faye is having a good day," when we chatted on Nicole's day. "I'm heading out. Tomorrow is your day," she said. I spoke with her for the last time then. Jenner continued, "You never get over losing a friend that way," as she sobbed at Nicole's passing. "I believe I buried it so deeply within. 30 years later, it was one of the worst days of my life." While on trial, O.J. assembled a legal dream team to support his defense. Shapiro, F. Lee Bailey, Alan Dershowitz, Sean Hawley, Robert, Carly Douglas, and Gerald Ullman were among the group members. Among the group was Robert Blasier, the lone attorney who was interviewed for the document. "I practiced defense law. In the criminal case as well as the civil matter, I was an attorney. It appeared from the evidence that Nicole and O.J. had a really violent altercation between the two of them, according to Blasier. Neither one was domineering and the other was subservient. They both used a lot of force. Homicides rarely occur in circumstances involving domestic abuse." When questioned about his opinion of O.J., Blasier responded, "I don't think anybody knows what happened," when asked if he was involved in Nicole's murder. "Strange events that defy logic and explanation frequently occur. I am unable to state that this is not the case." Sydney and Justin's relatives spoke about their experiences because they weren't involved in the document. After her mother passed away, Denise, Nicole's sister, described Sydney's reaction, stating, "There was a shock and a stare and nothing. There was only staring, no crying, no response at all." Sydney experienced nightmares in the months following Nicole's death, and Justin penned a murder fiction. Despite the charges against their father, Sydney and Justin expressed their affection for him. The Browns made an effort to treat O.J. nicely, because they wished to stay with the children after he was declared not guilty in the criminal trial. The family friends who expressed their mistrust of O.J. to Sydney and Justin the most were Pursley and Denise. O.J. gained custody of his children following the 1994 trial. Sydney and Justin were cut off from their grandparents, aunts, and other relatives when he made the decision to relocate his family to Florida. Over the years, Nicole's sister Tanya has not kept in touch with Sydney and Justin, but her sister Dominique has, according to interviews. In the document, Denise acknowledged that her choice to speak out against O.J. made it challenging at times to maintain a close relationship with Nicole's children in an effort to spread awareness about domestic abuse. For her part, Pursley was informed by the off-screen producers that Sydney and Justin had recently become parents. Despite moving to Florida, O.J.'s legal problems persisted. Denise was informed that the producers of the Lifetime program had located court records attesting to several legal difficulties. "As far as we could tell, we located almost 17 police reports. A number of 911 calls regarding violence within the residence were made," the off-screen producer said. "These calls were made in anonymity. They were unable to ascertain whether there was any truth to it, thus they were unable to take action." O.J. was also found to have been the target of an FBI raid related to cocaine trafficking. Chris Pierce and Gary Lofert talked about how their work on the case brought them to O.J. They started using wiretaps and pen registers with suspect Andrew Anderson since they first had someone who was involved in money laundering. Their research led them to O.J., who lived near Anderson and is said to have taken MDMA from him. Yes, Andrew did give O.J. Simpson MDMA, ecstasy, and other drugs. The FBI agents asserted that he was a user. In 2001, a raid was scheduled, but a reporter was already at O.J.'s house when the cops arrived. Lofert and Pierce became aware that a leaker had perhaps given O.J. the advantage, jeopardizing their case. Strange regarding the search. Subsequently, they discovered no other drugs on the property, just traces of marijuana. At the conclusion of Nicole Brown Simpson, The Life and Murder, a number of people discussed their recollections of Nicole. Specifically, they wanted her life to be remembered rather than her final moments. Family friend Judy Manto said about her, "She was a beautiful, vibrant, authentic daughter, wife, and mother. A person to be admired for all of her positive traits. She was just so generous and so willing to give of herself, her heart, and her time and help anybody that needed it," Jenner said, breaking down in tears as she spoke of her friendship with Nicole. While Brian Cato Kalin referred to Nicole as Mom of the Year, her friend Jim Mitchell described her as humble, fun, and a true friend. Greer, in her interview, expressed hope that by keeping her memory alive they could help someone else out there. Nicole's three sisters discussed how the event affected them as the documentary came to a close. Denise specifically remembered how her anger caused a rift in the family for 13 years. Tanya, on the other hand, claimed that thinking back on the things she never got to experience with Nicole was difficult. Nicole, her mother, and her father were remembered in an in memoriam montage. Rolf Bauer, Lewis's son from a previous relationship, and Aaron Brown, Dominique's son who died in 2022 at the age of 33, were also addressed. For private assistance, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 if you or someone you know is a victim of domestic abuse.